Deep down, you know something isn't working. You're stressed to the max, stretched too thin, and unsure of what's actually driving success inside of your operation. You need to get clear on what really matters and what's really been holding you back. Inside of today's video, I'm going to talk about the 5 hardest truths in farming that a lot of people want to honestly avoid. So let's get to it. Hard truth number 1, success in your operation is found in profit, not revenue. Now, this may seem contradictory to what a lot of people believe and things like that, and I totally get where a lot of people are coming from, because when I was raised inside of our operation, my granddad was always focused on getting it bigger and bigger and bigger and focused on more of that revenue number versus that profit number. But then I spent 6 years as an ag loan officer and honestly saw a lot of the same thing. People were chasing revenue, not realizing that it wasn't actually putting more money into their pockets at the end of the year. For some reason, we're focused on the wrong thing. Now, one of the common scenarios that people will get into, those that have to continuously chase revenue every single year, is if they continue to make bad financial decisions, aka have to restructure their losses every single year, those payments have to come from somewhere. And this is why a lot of people, they will start focusing more on revenue because they're just chasing that additional revenue to make these additional payments that have come from their poor financial decisions in the past 5 or 10 years. Now, that's obviously not a scenario we want to be in. One of the things that we always focus on here at Legacy Farmer is knowing your numbers at a deep level. Literally, our customers are in the top 1% of farmers in this country when it comes to financial organization, structure, and just knowing where the heck they're at and where their money is going. Now, one of the biggest benefits of having this level of structure and organization is that you're no longer making your decisions based on your gut feeling or your emotions or how you're feeling that day, whatever it may be there, because we know a lot of people inside this industry, they're making massive financial decisions based strictly on their emotions or how they feel in that moment. And we know that long term, that type of thinking or that strategy is not going to get us where we want to go. And so what we're always focused on inside of Legacy Farmer is knowing the numbers at a detailed level, and we're focused on increasing our profit margin every single year. I don't care if it's a great year or if it's a bad year. I want consistent profit margins every single year. And any decision that is going to put that profit margin at risk, well, we're going to have to heavily weigh the pros and cons of that decision and really analyze it and see if it fits into the overall strategy or game plan that we have for our customers' operation that year. We are focused on profit. And the thing is our customers inside of Legacy Farmer, they're not focused on being the biggest farmer in the area. They've let go of all the ego-driven type emotions there that cause people, again, to bite off more than they can chew or take on more obligations than they can actually handle inside of their business, because they're focused on more acres or more revenue, not necessarily more profit. I would rather farm the least amount of acres inside the operation, but be able to maximize our profit on those acres versus being able to go around town and say that I farm the most acres or whatever it may be there. That's just not a strategy that long-term is going to lead you where you want to go. And we've seen it time and time again. The people that are focused on more revenue or more acres or more, they end up in burnout and they're stressed out to the max, and they're just not where they want to be inside of their life or their operation. Hard truth number 2 is no one is coming to save you. Now, the problem with this type of issue here is that a lot of people inside the ag industry, grown up in like Tribune, Kansas, for example, for myself, we were always taught to take care of your neighbors, right? Help out people in your community and things like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But the thing is that we've let that bleed over into helping people out financially as well. And I'll talk about my experience at the bank, right? Being an ag banker is a two-edged sword, right? Because part of me really wanted to help my customers, but the other part of me though too meant that if I were to help them in one way or another, I had to kind of kick the can down the road, restructure finances and things like that. I wasn't in a position in the bank where I could really help people, which meant not telling them what they want to hear essentially, right? And giving them the hard truth there inside the bank. I couldn't really do that because I had tools and resources that we've conditioned customers, aka farmers just like you, to come into the bank and take advantage of, which means we're able to restructure loans, basically kick the can down the road, never actually looking to solve the real issue there that people are dealing with when it comes to making financial decisions. And I'll talk about that in another point here. The whole point of this hard truth right here, guys, is that you have to get to a point to understanding that nobody is coming to save you. Your banker may be able to restructure your losses, save you this year, save you next year, whatever that is, but at some point, they're going to hit their end of the road for themselves. The bank is no longer going to restructure any more of your losses. They've given you everything they can, and they may have even burned up all of your equity to where now the only choice you have is unfortunately bankruptcy, which we've seen happen a lot over the years here. And this is the type of problem here when farmers or business owners are constantly looking for somebody to step in and save them. Now, I'm not talking down to anybody, because guess who's been down this road before? yours truly, right? And there was a time back in 2017 where I made some decisions and took advantage of an opportunity that was presented to me. But really what was happening there is that I was looking for somebody to save me. And ultimately, that opportunity did not come to fruition. God taught me a very powerful lesson there in that time of my life, which was, Jace, are you finally getting this? No one is coming to save you. You have to take accountability as a business owner, just like I had to back then, in order to really build the life and create the future that you want for your family and for your operation. Until you are willing to do that, you are going to be stuck in savior mode. And also too, it's kind of like victim mode, because you're constantly going to be blaming, you're constantly going to be pushing off accountability and responsibility on everybody else. You're just not going to be in a place mentally where you're finally to accept all of the problems that you've created in your life, because that is the hard truth. As a business owner, I am responsible for every challenge, every issue, every problem that is present really in my life. Now, did I create the problem? No, but just because you didn't create it doesn't mean you're not responsible for it. And that's a big lesson here. So at the end of the day, my friend, nobody is coming to save you. And the faster that you can accept that, the farther you're going to get along in this journey, and the faster you're going to get to the results that you actually want for your family and for your operation. All right, hard truth number 3 is your legacy is not your assets. Now, my granddad was very old school. He grew up in the 20s, 30s, and 40s there. He started our family operation in the 50s. And ultimately, he thought his entire legacy was going to be passing on the family farm operation and feed yard to his kids. Now, as I've gotten older, I can really understand why he thought that that's what his legacy would be, right? Passing on these assets and things like that, because he grew up very poor in a lot of ways. So I can see how that conditioned him to think that his legacy is passing on these assets. But one thing we've learned inside a legacy farmer from working with hundreds of family farm operations across the country, the amount of lawsuits that are happening between kids over their parents' assets that they transitioned onto them with no plan, no structure, no organization, essentially no estate plan in place there, is just mind-boggling, guys. Millions of dollars being spent on attorney fees and things like that, and just problems that honestly we don't want our kids to have to deal with. The reason I share all that information there with you is because your legacy is so much more than just the assets you're passing on. Your legacy is going to be how people remember you after you're gone. And the thing is, if all you're focused on is passing on those material things there, I'm sorry, but just from our experience and hearing these stories over and over again, it never ends up turning out very well. So here's my recommendation to you. Start to transform your view on what a legacy really is. And again, it's more than those material assets. Yes, that's part of it, but it's more about the lessons and life experiences that you're passing on and what people think about you after you're gone as well. At the end of the day, my viewpoint on legacy has really transformed from passing on those material assets to more passing on an opportunity, right? And what I mean by that is, let's say I have some kids that want to be involved in my business, but majority of them that don't, for example. I want to be able to make sure that I have enough structure, organization, and things in place there that I can give each one of my kids an opportunity to do what they want in their life and really live out whatever their dream is. Now, if they're not doing things the right way, or they're just not good kids or good adults, let's say they have drug addictions or alcohol addictions, whatever that is there, then I'm going to have safeguards in place to protect our assets and really safeguard those opportunities for those kids there, because obviously they're going to abuse them there. But at the end of the day, that's what I've really transformed my legacy into being, or what my viewpoint of legacy is. Yes, I want to pass on the material assets, all that type of stuff there, but more I want to pass on the life lessons and give the next generation an opportunity to pursue whatever it is that they may want to in their life. Because a true legacy is built through passing on your wisdom, your life lessons, your experiences, those mistakes, and ultimately a connection to the next generation, not just material wealth. Hard truth number 4, if money will solve it, then money is not the issue. Now, getting back to a little bit, I hinted at this in point number 2 there in hard truth number 2, but one of the challenges of being in the bank, once again, was being able to have the tools and resources to continue kicking the can down the road, aka restructuring losses from bad financial decisions or people that just didn't know where the heck they were at financially, and they were just careless, or they were emotional, or they just didn't have a strategy or system in place to make sound financial decisions. And from the bank standpoint, we had an interest in going ahead and restructuring those notes because, 1, it meant more interest for the bank, but 2, it meant we wouldn't have to foreclose or try to kick that operation out the door. Ultimately, preserving the name of that bank was what we were aiming to do there. Now, the problem with this, though, is that now we have trained, taught, and conditioned our customers at that time to always come back to the bank. If they have losses or whatever, the bank will just restructure those loans, take up more equity on their balance sheet, and they'll be able to farm again or operate again this next year. That works for a little while, but long term, though, it just doesn't solve the underlying issue. If you have people where your operation has gotten refinanced several times in the past decade, you really have to start looking underneath the actual issue there. Because one thing that we were doing at the bank, I always compare bankers with drug dealers, because you have a customer that's coming back just to get another hit, but at the end of the day, you're not solving the underlying issue there, which is the addiction. As a banker, I was in a position where I could treat the symptom, but I wasn't actually solving the real problem. And that was one of the internal battles I had working in the bank, is that I wanted to help people, but sometimes helping them meant telling them no, which I was just in this conflicted place because the bank wanted me to make more loans. Is that really what's best for the customer? And this is one of the big reasons as to why I left the banking industry, but also it's one of the major benefits we have here in Legacy Farmers, that our customers are coming to Legacy Farmer because they want that hard truth, because they want to be told, you're just kicking the can down the road here. We need to look at actually how you're making financial decisions that got you into this position in the first place. We are trying to dig into the root issues here, or problems that are ultimately causing the overall problem that these families are dealing with, not just treat the other symptom, not just treat the symptom this year and then kick it down the road, deal with the same thing next year. We have to change the way that people are fundamentally making ideas and how they're thinking through what is the sequence of the thoughts going through their mind that are leading to these financial decisions here, so we can give people the right habits, the right knowledge, the right wisdom, the right tools, and everything they need to make sound financial decisions year after year. Even after they've moved on from Legacy Farmer, we want our customers to have those skills and knowledge and mindsets in order to go and thrive on their own. At the end of the day, if you are somebody that thinks, well, if I just had more money, maybe another $500,000 or $1 million, then all my problems would be solved. Promise you that money is not the issue. And that is where we have to start peeling back layers with these customers that we're working with and really look at a deep level how they're making financial decisions, where that came from, and then we can start changing things, injecting new habits, new patterns, and things like that will actually lead them to making sound financial decisions every single time. Hard truth number 5, true leaders walk with God, even when it's tough. Now, guys, one thing here that I've just learned over the years, and it's actually, I'm sharing this with you because it's given me a lot more peace, calm, and really just patience through this journey and this process of life that God has me going through. Every time there's a challenge that you're facing, instead of getting mad at the challenge or creeping back into victimhood, which is a place that I lived in for a very long time there, it's better to actually look at the decision and analyze and ask yourself the question, why is this happening for me, right? Not what is happening to me or why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? What lesson is God trying to get across to me right now that my big dumb head just can't see, essentially, right? Because at the end of the day, the challenges and the problems that pop up inside of your operation, that is God's way of shining a light into something that you need to fix. And so it's really transformed my viewpoint on problems or challenges or mistakes that are happening inside a Legacy Farmer, for example, because now I look at it as, hey, this is an opportunity for us to actually make our product, our service, our experience, or whatever that is 10 times better. It's God's way of shining a light on a problem that you need to fix, not just continue to cover up. Now, sometimes these problems that he's shining a light on, man, they're big ones. They're heavy ones. Maybe it's a tough conversation that you have to have with siblings or your parents. Maybe it's an estate planning conversation. Maybe it's a, transitioning of assets conversation. Like, there's just a lot of weight, right? And emotional baggage that comes with those types of decisions there. And sometimes, yeah, they seem really big and really heavy. But at the end of the day, the longer you avoid handling those problems, the more painful God is going to make your life. It's not even a question to me at this point. It's a guarantee, because I have lived this cycle so many times myself where it's just changed and transformed the way that I look at these problems and issues. We've been scaling and growing Legacy Farmer here for the past 2 years, adding a bunch of new people. And the thing is that I expect all of them to make mistakes. If they're not making mistakes, then they're not trying anything new. They're not innovating. They're not making our processes better or things like that. But also too, I've made it clear that, hey, it's okay, guys, to make mistakes. It means that we're moving forward. Now, if we continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again, then obviously we're going to have problems. But again, though, I look at that as God's way of shining lights on problems inside of our business, give us the opportunity to make the value better for our customers, for our team, for everybody involved inside a Legacy Farmer. And so I would encourage you to actually do the same thing inside of your operation. And also too, maybe right now you've gotten used to just kind of kicking the can down the road on a few decisions or a few problems, or you're covering it up when God's shining a light on it there, which again, I'm the number one person here that has a lot of experience with that. But the moment that I started to facing those problems head on and just handling them, man, my life got so much better. And guess what? This story and this anxiety of, all these things that were going through my mind of how bad my life was going to be when I actually had that conversation or solved that big problem, none of it came to fruition. It was just literally just stories being created inside my mind, and it wasn't near as bad as what I thought it was going to be. And it ended up just having long-term benefits inside of my life there that I otherwise would not have gotten. So final question to ask yourself is the current way that you view problems or challenges that God's shining a light on in your life actually serving you or are you just trying to cover it up and hide from it and run like you always have before? Again, I don't ask you that to put you down or anything like that, because I have been there, but the moment I started to accept responsibility for those problems and handle them, finally, my life got a lot better. Now guys, if any of these hard truths have really hit home for you inside of today's video, I invite you to click the button below to subscribe to our channel. And on top of that, if you're truly ready to build a farm operation that lasts for generations, one with structure, clarity, and purpose, then click the link below this video, and that's your next step.